papers this morning, anthropologist Marianne Hotter and editor of Spiked Online, Tom Slater, are here. Morning to you both.
Good morning.
The Saturday Telegraph talking about the politics of envy. Marianne?
Yes, that's right. So, the mini-budget on Friday, a number of measures announced, including things like cutting, as in entirely removing, the 45% tax rate for the highest earners. So these are people who earn over 150 grand. And you've got Chris Philp, who's the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, saying, oh, the squeezed middle, which is basically all the normal people who work hard, have jobs, don't earn shed loads of money, but, you know, aren't necessarily sharing one crust of bread between four. Those people who might be sitting there this morning criticising some of those decisions because they massively benefit the really, really super rich rather than most people, that's the politics of envy, apparently. That's because we're jealous of the rich people and we don't work as hard. And that's why we're not as rich.
It's not about not working as hard, is it?
It's utter nonsense.
But should you... Oh, sorry to apologise. My watch is beeping.
Hello? No, he's on the telly. Just give him a minute.
But, I mean, the 45p rate never... When was it introduced? It never used to be there.
It was... Gordon Brown introduced it in, I think, 2009, and it was 50%, and then it got reduced to 45%. But this is... I mean... There are some measures. I'm not naturally a Tory.
You've got to not disincentivise people getting rich.
Well, this is what Kwasi Kwarteng says. He says, you know, we can't disincentivise rich people making more money is good for the whole economy. This kind of... I consider that to be kind of this trickle-down economics idea, that if you have loads of millionaires, the person cleaning the office in the evening will have a bit of a better life and they might get an extra 10p per hour. It's not, let's be honest, that's been pretty thoroughly debunked. And, you know, you kind of look at the Thatcher years or you look at the...
Well, she was said to be very disillusioned at the end of her time in office.
By her own policies.
Yes, but trickle-down economics didn't work, and she
found
that people who made a lot of money at the top wanted to keep their own money and weren't necessarily improving the lives of those lower down.
And wealth creates wealth much more rapidly than working really hard for an hourly salary. I mean, that's just true. That's just how it is. If you've got money making interest, or you've got property you know, going up in value, then you're doing a hell of a lot better than someone working on the minimum wage. Anyway, so it's the politics of envy, apparently.
Well, how is all this going to play out in the red wall seats, Tom, according to the Observer?
So this is the other side of this, really, which is the concern voiced by some, excuse me, leading Tory MPs about how this will play in the red wall, because obviously Liz Truss is benefiting from this 80-seat majority, won by a very different kind of Tory party under Boris Johnson, one that wanted to lean to the left on a lot of economic issues, to be a kind of slightly more interventionist sort of government. Now, in the end, levelling up ended up being a kind of slogan in pursuit of an agenda. It wasn't exactly clear what it was. Whenever they tried to do anything that would benefit a lot of those red wall seats, the blue wall, so-called, would get very upset and it would be damped down. But still, that was the sell to a lot of people. And what we've essentially got now is that a kind of quite a small sliver of the sort of electorate kind of pro-Brexit, but kind of see Brexit as a way to end up with a low-tax, low-regulation sort of Singapore-on-Thames. That was always a very small part of the Leave vote, and yet it now runs the entire country. And that's going to be a very tricky sell come the next election when you've got a lot of people who are not natural free marketeers, you know, in former mining towns, in, again, kind of those newly Tory working-class constituencies. They're not on board with this sort of agenda.
Unless, I suppose, they can prove by the next general election that the mini-budget worked. It's got to be seen to be working.
Well, this is the thing. Before you answer that, Marianne, we've got 60 seconds. I'm going to count you down.
Okay.
Looking at gardens.
Okay. Yeah, this is important. So, you know, we're all absolutely outraged, rightly, about all those raw sewage outfalls. One of the ways for us to individually help that, apparently, is to make our gardens sinks for water. So basically, instead of having AstroTurf, decking, a patio and a driveway, all hard surfaces, so when it rains, nothing penetrates down into the earth to refill those water reserves, but also it all runs off into the drains and floods. Instead, have a pond or a bog garden. You can Google it.
Oh, I'd love a bog garden.
Oh, there you go.
Not the whole garden,
no,
but, you know, like a nice bit at the bottom.
So,
dragonflies.
yeah, so make some of it much more natural.
And kind of
Wet.
soggy. Yeah. Ferns, you know, pretty things like that.
Yeah, oh, well, there you go.
Lily pads.
Don't set me off.
Everyone's a lily
Okay,
pad.
sure.
See lily pads in my back garden.
Mary Ann, Tom, thank you both very much indeed. Good
Thank
to
you.
see you this morning.